Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today we're back on with the Amstrad and we're going to do some upgrades, but we're going to do these upgrades like I'm back in 1995. Basically what I want to do really is, I used to work on systems like this when I was back in school. It was 94 and 95, around about then. I did mention this in my previous video. I knew a lot of kids at school that had been given older PCs like this. I think it was getting around the time where a lot of businesses were upgrading and they were going to, you know, Windows 95 machines, 486s, these fancy new Pentium systems. And they were selling off their older systems, you know, to people that worked in the companies. And all of a sudden, at this same time, at this time, I got a lot of like people that I knew in school coming up to me saying, my dad's given me a computer he got from work. Basically, can I play games on it? And it was usually something kind of like this. Not necessarily an Amstrad, but most of them actually were like 386s. It seemed to be a lot of like 386, SX16s, SX20s. Your standard basic office PC from the very late 80s, early 90s kind of system. So the systems were probably about 5 years old or so when they were being passed on. So we're talking, you know, a fairly basic like word processing or office-based computer, and everyone just wanted to know, can I play games on it? And can I upgrade it? What can I do to it? The biggest question that I used to get asked when someone had got a PC was, will it play Doom? Will it play Doom was the 1990s version of Can It Play Crysis back in the 2000s, basically. Unfortunately, a lot of these people I had to disappoint and basically say no. You're not, even if it will run Doom, it's not going to run Doom nicely. I mean, there were a few people that had like 386 DX40s and what have you. Even some of the rich kids had 486s and computers like that, and yeah, they'd play Doom, no problem. But if your dad had come home and given you a PC and it was something like this, it was a case of what can I do with it. So I've got basically here some of the things that I used to do back in the day on a computer kind of like this, to make it more, you know, playing games on it, as well as you'll still be able to do your homework and stuff like that. So I'll get you over on the table properly here and we can go through a few of the options that we've got. And I am doing this literally like I would have done back in the mid-90s. So price is obviously going to be a massive consideration, because PC parts were expensive back then. I mean, they're getting quite pricey now, but they were expensive, you know, especially for school kids on pocket money and the odd like birthday money kind of thing. And that's what I'm aiming at this for. We're not going at the rich kids that went, daddy, you know, daddy, I want a new computer, and all of a sudden a brand new P60 arrived or something like that. This is like kids like me that, like I said, they might have been just gifted an old computer and wanted to do stuff. So I'll get you down on the bench. We'll go through what options I've got here. So back in a sec. Right, okay, that's a little bit better. We can see what I'm looking at now. Now, the first thing most kids asked me was sound card. They wanted a sound card. You know, if you wanted to use your PC and you wanted to play games on it, the thing that I used to get asked more than anything was, can I put a sound card in it? The problem was, back then, sound cards were expensive. I mean, multimedia PCs were just, you know, just coming a thing that, you know, people were starting to buy. I think I got my first multimedia system in 94, and that was a 486 SX25 with a 2-speed CD-ROM drive, a god-awful Sound Blaster clone, 4 megabytes of RAM, and I think it had a 210 megabyte hard drive in it. And I know that computer cost about £900. you know, with the monitor and keyboard and what have you. And it was like one of the cheapest multimedia PC systems out there. Like I said, this is what everyone wanted, but no one could really afford. The only reason that I got that system was because we had a burglary, and the thieves stole my 286. My mother had a old for new insurance policy, and it meant that basically my 286, which wasn't worth all that very much, equated for old for new, so I got a brand new PC out of it. So sound card wise, there's probably a very good chance it would have ended up with something like this in it. It wouldn't have been a original Sound Blaster. They generally were a little bit too expensive, so it would have been a clone that I would have been putting in, and it would probably been something kind of akin to this. These were these were reasonably good value cards like this. This card is from this is an Aztec, and I think this is from 1994. So about, you know, if I'd have actually gone out and bought a new card, it would have probably been something like this. Second-hand sound cards at the time weren't really a thing. Occasionally, something like an original ad-lib may turn up. Someone that's had a PC for a little while, had an ad-lib in it, has upgraded, and they may have tried to trade on their ad-lib card. And to be honest, when I was at school, second-hand sound cards, if anyone heard there was one going about, there was usually, you know, massive interest in it, even if it was just something like an ad-lib clone or something like that. But I mean, this is going to be quite a good card to use in this system. It's a Sound Blaster Pro compatible. It's a bit overkill for this computer, but it's the type of card that I would have probably been able to get new for a reasonable amount of money. I've actually tried to find a new price on this, but I can't find one. I can give you a new price on some of the other bits that I'll probably be putting in here. But yeah, so we've got a reasonably decent generic Sound Blaster clone there. So again, that's something that I would period correct, and I would have probably fitted back in the day. And to be honest, providing the computer had an ISA bus on it, which, you know, most do, that was no problem. We could stick that in there and get that working. Now, the next thing, and this was also one that I got asked quite a bit, is what can I upgrade the RAM for? Now, this was a little bit easier. At the time, I had a friend who was a little bit older than me, a few years older than me. In fact, when I was in like third or fourth year at school, he was in college, and he had a part-time job in a local computer shop, basically. Now, this shop, it basically catered more for business systems. It wasn't, you know, where you go in to buy your computer games or anything like that. And he mainly dealt with Apple Macintoshes. What that meant, though, was I had a source of 1 megabyte 30-pin sims at a very reasonable price, because this seemed to be about a time when people that had Macs, they were maxing them out to try and get as much use of them as they could, and a lot of people were, you know, upgrading the RAM. And for some reason, I just seemed to be able to get quite decent deals on used 30-pin 1 meg sims. Now, I haven't got a magazine, a computer magazine from the time, but I've got ETI here, ETI Electronics magazine from May 1994, and in the back we've got a computer advert for build your own PC. Now, these prices are kind of about what you would have paid, you know, full price. Unfortunately, there is no sound cards in here, or else I could have got a, you know, a good estimate for that. But we've got like memory. So a 1 meg 30-pin sim, 17 nanoseconds, was £36 new. I think at the time depending on, I think, how many you had in stock or what have you. I used to pay between probably £10–15 each for the second-hand 1 meg 30-pin sims. So say between £20 and £30 I could add a couple more megabyte of RAM. Bear in mind that obviously these are 16-bit, 16-bit aren't they, systems, so you do need 2 of them to get it to work. So say for about £30, £20 or £30, I could put some extra memory in the computer. Then again, that also depended on what the system was, because a lot of the early 286, 386 systems, especially like, you know, the corporate systems, they tended to use either these or they used proprietary RAM expansion like the Apricot that I've got, in which case you were kind of a little bit stuck. If it uses like aftermarket, sorry, not aftermarket, if it used proprietary RAM expansion modules, your only option was to get like one of the RAM expansion cards, basically an ISA card that you could add 30-pin sims or even DRAM to and upgrade the memory that way. Unfortunately, again, those were rather expensive. They was well out of the price range of us school kids. But if you was lucky enough to have a system that could actually take standard 30-pin sims, then, like I said, that's what I would probably do to upgrade the RAM a little bit. Now, the other big upgrade that everyone seemed to want, but no one could really afford, would be to upgrade the hard drive. Now, this is very similar to a type of thing would have used back then. I've got a 130 megabyte Quantum Pro drive here. Now again, this the trouble was it was price again. Now this is 130 megabytes drive, and we're looking here. Look at 130 meg ID hard drive. It's £150. Bear in mind, all these prices are plus VAT, so you know you're going to pay 150 plus 17.5% VAT. So you know, again, it was basically out of the price range of most of the school kids that wanted the computers upgrading. Also, you had the issue that yeah, there was quite a few that, like the Amstrad here, that would use an IDE hard drive. Many wouldn't, like my Apricot, it's still using RLL interface for the hard drive. So that was really out of price range for most of my school chums. What I occasionally did, if they absolutely, you know, needed more hard drive space, again from the same source as I used to get my 30-pin sims from, occasionally I could buy second-hand like 80 megabyte hard drives, but they were all ex-Apple Macintosh and they're all scuzzy. So it was a case of, yeah, I could get the hard drives reasonably cheap. I was paying about 50p per megabyte for good second-hand scuzzy hard drives. But then you need a controller for them, and if we have a look in here under add-on cards, a basic future domain SCSI card, £45. So say we've got an 80 megabyte hard drive, about 40 quid second hand. Then you've got another £45 on top for a controller for it. So you still, you're £85 there, plus the VAT on top. So you what, 90 odd pounds probably there. Again, not what most of my school chum friends could really afford, but I did actually upgrade a couple of systems like that and actually put a SCSI card in them, and like an 80 or maybe even like 100 megabytes SCSI hard drive. In this instance, it's one of my poorer school friends, so we won't be upgrading the hard drive in this instance. What we will be doing is adding some RAM and putting the sound card in it, because these were the things most often, to be honest, that I did end up putting in these systems. I said some sort of sound card, and if I could upgrade the RAM, upgrade the RAM. I'll get this bench cleared off and we'll get this done. We'll get these installed, and then we'll have a look what I was going to do with the software on it. Bear in mind, we've only got a 40 megabyte hard drive, and again, this was very much like it would have been back in the day when I was doing this. So we've got to make the most of that hard drive, and most people wanted some form of GUI on there. That's what most school kids that I knew were used to. They was used to the Atari ST, they was used to the Amiga, and they was used to the Acorn Archimedes that we ran at school, and they all run with a GUI. Most of the kids that I knew didn't really want to get into using DOS, to be honest. It was considered a bit of a backward step if you had a computer running just MS-DOS. Like I said, they wanted something a little bit more fancy and easier to use than that, so it usually involved getting a better version of Windows on there. So we'll start with this. I'll get the table cleared off and we'll have a look at putting that memory in there and getting this sound card working. So back in a sec. Right, okay, we've got it tipped over and I've got the bottom cover removed. We'll take our RAM. Now, bear in mind this is an Amstrad, and these need parity memory. Now, the ones that I've got in here already are 9-pin parity chips. These are actually slightly later, as in these are the 3-chip type of RAM, but they are still a parity RAM, so these should work absolutely fine in here. The Amstrad won't work with the non-parity RAM, unfortunately. So we'll get this installed, which is usually a right royal pain. In fact, what I think I'll have to do is pop the RAM that's in there out before I can get that extra RAM in. Let me find my appropriate tool for doing this. There we go, a little screwdriver, little jeweler screwdriver. Unfortunately, the Amstrad does have the plastic sim sockets. It doesn't have the metal tabs that some have. So we have to be super careful. There we go, that's freed. We do have to be super careful while we're doing this. I do have replacements, but I would rather not use them if I don't have to, because they are getting quite hard to get now. Nearly out there. There we are. That's it. We'll get the two 1 meg sims out. In fact, what we'll do, we'll move those up and put them in them 2 slots. Really, 4 megabytes of RAM is enough for any 286 really. I mean, they will take up to 16 megabytes of RAM in a 286 system. But you really don't, unless you was doing something ridiculous with CAD, I think. I very much can't see any reason why you would need that much memory in it. But 4 megs is good if, like I said, we want to run, say, Windows 3.1. 4 megs of RAM does make a lot of sense. So we've got the 4 megs installed there now. what we need to do next is reconfigure the actual dip switches so the computer actually knows that it's got that extra memory in there. So just bear with me while I find what I've done with that slip of paper that I'd put the dip switch settings on, which I'm sure I had on the table here and I can't quite find now, so back in a sec. Right, here we go. So we've got our jumpers down here. I did find where I'd actually wrote down what we need, so we concentrated on jumper 20, 19, 18 and 17. 21 and 22 instantly are for the speed of the RAM. Now the old RAM we had on here was 80 nanoseconds, and the new RAM I've fitted is also 80 nanoseconds, so we don't actually have to bother messing with that. We just need to reconfigure jumper 20, 19, 18 and 17. So we look at 17 here. That is on at the moment and it needs to be off, but the next one, which is link 18, is currently off and it needs to be on. So all we need to do is move that jumper across one. So we get hold of that, pull it out from there, put it on back on there. Let's just make sure I've got that in the right place. Yep. And then we want 19 is currently off and we want it on, and 20 is currently on and we want it off. So all we need to do is move that jumper again over one. So that should now be configured for 4 megabytes of RAM. So what we'll do, I will get the bottom cover reinstalled, if I can remember where I put the box with all the screws in it. In fact, I'll do that after. What we will do is I'll get this set back up and we will have a look at the sound card. Right, let's get that sound card in there. Now our first ISA slot here is already taken up by the IDE controller, but we do have one 8-bit and another 3 16-bit slots in the Amstrad 286. So we've got quite a bit of expandability. Quite a few of the systems back then, especially they were small, you know, desktop systems, they may only have perhaps 3 or 4 expansion slots. I know the early Amstrads just had 3. The Amstrad, that's the 1512s. I remember correctly, things like the Apricot, I think that only has 2 or 3 full 16-bit expansion slots in it. So like I said, some things you may be a little bit limited, but this was the thing everyone wanted. So everyone would have to lose at least one expansion slot just having a sound card. So we'll get that installed. I think I'll put it in the middle around about there. Now that will need actually screwing down, however I won't be doing that just at this instance for the simple fact that I need to find them long screws. I've put them somewhere together with the screws for the base plate and I've just got to find them yet. But we've got the sound card in there. We'll close it up for now. And what I will do now, we'll get the computer connected back up and make sure everything actually works the way it should. Let's get the cable out that way. We'll plug our VGA back in. That should be the right way up. There we go, that's in now. Back there. In fact, I'll get the monitor down so you can see what I'm going to do. We'll get the older monitor down. In fact, just bear with me a second. I'll get all this set back up and I'll come right back to you. So back in a sec. Right, okay, we've got everything connected up now. We've got the monitor connected up, so let's switch on and make sure the computer still works. We'll probably have to go and reset up the amount of RAM there. I believe you have to set that in the BIOS. And in fact, we'll go into the BIOS and we'll have a look at that, because there's something else I want to show you. Another reason why at the moment that would be a tricky upgrade for this computer. See, it's still only showing 2 megs of extended RAM there. If we type, it will take us into the BIOS there. It's got extended memory. That's what we need to. We've got 2004. That's the extra memory showing up there. So let's go over there. Let's change that. So we'll go 2048. No, that's still not right. You'll have to bear with me a second, because I have to remember how do I do this. Right, so we've got base memory. Right, let's try that. Let's hang on. Just bear with me a second again, folks. I've just got to remember what I am doing. Right, apologies about that. Bit of mental brain fade. Mathematics was never my strong point. But basically we've got it sorted now. So we've got 640k of base memory, and we've got 3456k of extended memory. And what I had to do basically, before, if you remember, I had 2048. I then noticed down here page pool Limi MS there, and it was showing another 1408. So basically we have to add them two together. That gives us our extended memory, which is 3456, as I said. So hopefully that should be right now. So we'll return. Oh, hang on. Escape. Escape. Right, now if we do a restart, we should see the correct amount of memory come up here if it's working. Initial boot up on these is a little on the slow side when it's just doing its like self-diagnostics. There we go. And there we go. So we've got our extended memories coming up nicely there now. We'll let the computer boot one more time. And there we go. The computer's all working. But as we had before, we are running MS-DOS version 4.01, and it was pretty dire. There was lots of memory, like the upper memory drivers and things, HighMem.sys, were a bit flaky, shall we say, in MS-DOS 4.01. Some of the systems that came to me even were still running like DOS 3.3. So one of the things I would do pretty much straight away is upgrade DOS. Now we've got two options here. I've got DOS 6.22. Now this was like the latest and greatest version of MS-DOS. In fact, this is the very, very last iteration of DOS 6.22, because it's actually got the like supplementary discs, so there's some extra bits and bats with this one. I don't think I'm going to put this on here for one good reason. We've only got a 40 megabyte hard drive. Now what we could do, and I did used to do this occasionally, where I was basically put DOS 6.22 on a system like this, and then just pull out all the bits of DOS that I knew no one was going to use, to make it smaller, because on a 40 megabyte hard drive, when you start loading the computer with games and Windows and things, you run out of space pretty damn quick. Now we could run DOS 622 and use the double space feature to basically compress part of the hard drive and give us a larger hard drive. That's something that was very common to do back in the 90s, when basically hard drives were just so damn expensive. The trouble is, with a 12 megahertz 286, even with the 4 megabytes of RAM, running drive space on this, it will make it horrendously slow. So what I'm going to do instead, when I find it, there it is, I'm going to put DOS 5 on this. Now DOS 5 was a good stopgap between the two. It was much better than DOS 4.01. But it's not quite, doesn't take as much space up on the hard drive as DOS 6. To be honest, for a 286 build, for a 286 install, it's not bad at all. It's pretty good, especially if you're not got a lot of hard drive space. I'd say, yeah, DOS 5 is probably the way to go. So we'll get DOS 5 installing on this. We'll do a quick Control-Alt-Delete. So there's no point putting the sound card drivers on at this moment, because we're basically going to wipe the hard drive and start again. I've already backed this image up that I made on this hard drive on my Bridge PC anyway, so if I did for some reason want to revert back to this configuration, it's no issue. Well, hopefully these discs still work. That seems to be loading now. In fact, it takes me back doing this, you know, waiting for this to load and stuff. In fact, what I'm going to do, this is what I used to do quite a lot. We'll put DOS and Windows on the computer, old school from discs, and then back then what I would normally do, is I would take the hard drive, providing it was like an IDE hard drive or even a SCSI hard drive. I'd actually take the hard drive out of the system, connect it up to my main PC, and use that to transfer any other software or files I wanted over. It was a lot quicker and a lot less hassle than doing it with floppy disks, and we'll probably do this in this instance as well. But that's when we've actually got DOS happy and running on here. Probably get Windows happy and running on here as well first, and like I said, then I'll probably look at connecting it up to a more modern PC. In the day it would have been even my 486 SX25, or if it was a little bit later, I did get a Pentium 60, so it would have been my Pentium 60 system that I would be using as the main system to transfer files over. Now this will probably take, what, about 20 minutes or so to install, so I won't bore you with that. I'll come back once I've got MS-DOS MS-DOS 5, and I think I'm going to go with Windows 3.1. Again, we could, if it was really limited, say we couldn't, there's some reason we could not update the RAM in it, say it was stuck with 1 or 2 megabytes of RAM, I'd probably look at putting something like Windows 3 on it, because it was just that little bit less memory intensive and resource intensive as Windows 3.1. Again, it also doesn't take quite as much space up on the hard drive. In this instance, I think I'm actually going to go with a Windows 3.1 installation. Anyway, I'll get this on here, I'll get the Windows 3.1 on here, and then we'll come back and have a quick look at it. So back in a sec. Right, okay, we're back, and we've got MS-DOS 5 and Windows 3.1 now installed on this computer. Interestingly, this is actually my original copy of Windows 3.1 back from when I had that 486. So these are, Well, these are from 1993, so these are what, 32-year-old these discs, and there was one font file on one disc which wouldn't load. Apart from that, these still work absolutely fine after all those years, and these must have been through literally hundreds of uses over that time, so they definitely used some fairly decent discs when they made these. So we've got DOS on there, we've got Windows on there. I also went ahead and put Word for Windows on it. This is a snide copy that I had from back in the day. So it was what I basically put on people's computers if they wanted something better than WordPerfect 5.1 for DOS, which was my other option I used to offer people, because I had that for systems that, you know, weren't running Windows or anything. Perhaps it was a really old system that only had 640k of memory or something. I always used to have something else that could go on there that was okay, but obviously we wanted to build a Windows system for someone. I did used to try and put Word version 2 on it. Anyway, let's fire the computer up now and we'll have a look where we're at so far. We can take a quick tour through Windows 3.1 and just have a look like how the computer behaves now it's upgraded software wise, and let's see how much space we've got left on that hard drive. Now, I did put the full install of Windows 3.1 on here. In hindsight, I should have probably gone through a custom installation and pared it down a little bit. That's generally what I used to do back in the day. You know, if there was anything in there that someone was obviously not going to use, I'd get rid of it. You know, I just wouldn't bother installing it, so it was pretty much a pared down installation. But there we go. So we've got our 640 plus our extra RAM there. That makes our full 4 megabytes of RAM on this 286. And we're installed. Like I said, we've got MS-DOS version 5 on now. The memory handling on this is far better than the memory handling on DOS 4.01. Apart from that, everything's pretty much the same, and we're using the same mode. In fact, this is the same format of the hard drive. When I put MS-DOS 5 on it, the version that I actually used was the full version, was in the retail version of DOS rather than the OEM version. From what I remember correctly back in the day, it was the OEM version, as it was supplied to be able to be used with a brand new PC. You couldn't upgrade from an earlier version with it, you had to just install that on the PC. As where this is the retail version, it actually allows you to just basically do it as an upgrade. So everything else on the hard drive is basically as it was before I upgraded it to version 5 of DOS. I did delete the old Windows and reinstalled Windows 3.11. But apart from that, like I said, essentially this is exactly the same, the type of DIR there now. You can see we've got all the same directories and everything we had before. I'll still have to do a little bit of tidying up in here, get rid of the autoexec.old and you know, the config.000 and the autoexec.000. That's just where it's been changing things, and they're the older iteration of it. Like, I had to go in there and set the mouse driver up on its own and things like that, but basically that should be working. So if I type Win now, this is basically Windows 3.1 running. What I would say, really, this is kind of like the minimum spec computer you could actually get away with using Windows 3.1 on and actually have it usable. If we didn't have the 4 megs of RAM in here, it would run. It will run on 1 megabyte of RAM, but I will not say it's usable. As you said, that actually loaded up fairly quick for a GUI. We've got all the basic stuff you'd think you've got in here. You've got Write, which is like basically just text editor, Paintbrush, Terminal, which is a modem program. This is the type of thing, if I was doing this, like I said, for someone, there was minimum hard drive space. There's things in here that I probably just wouldn't bother installing to start off with. Looking at accessories, that's where we just were. mean, everything in here is pretty much needed, but there's various bits that we wouldn't have to install. We've got Microsoft Word on here, as I said I installed. Just have a quick look at that. And if you look back to my previous video, you can see, you know, that was version 1 of, or 1.1, sorry, of Microsoft Word. This is version 2.0. This wouldn't run on Windows 286. It will run on Windows 3.1, and we've got a nice word processor we can use here. And, you know, it will do everything a word processor. Yeah, I'm really bad at typing now, but yeah, it works. It would be functional. You could type all your schoolwork up here, you could type your essays up, and that's exactly what I did. Okay, I had a slightly newer computer, because this time when I was messing with these, like I said, I had a 486, but it's still, I mean, it was the same basic software I was running. This is just an older system, but it is functional. You could use this to do all your schoolwork on, basically. Let's get out of that. No, we don't need to save that. And games wise, again, we've just got the games that came with Windows here. Minesweeper I never ever used to really like. I was not a Minesweeper person, but I spent many hours playing Solitaire on Windows 3.1, and it works fine. It works really well. We'll close that down. We'll close that down. In fact, we'll close that down, and we'll shut Windows down now, because we put a nice piece of hardware in here, and so far we haven't played with it. Although I have connected it up to my speakers behind me, because what we should be able to do, we go into the games folder and we play Lemmings. We should, even without any drives in it, we should still actually work on the ad-lib sound. So let's have a quick look at that. We've got Lemmings up here. If I hit F1 now, and click the button, we should actually have some audio. There we go. And it actually sounds pretty nice. I mean, the ad-lib implementation on this sound is pretty good, because it does use a proper Yamaha OPL chip. It's not like, you know, someone's knocked off iteration of it. It is a proper Yamaha OPL chip on these. So the ad-lib sound does sound exactly as it really should do. Let's get out of there now. But although we've got ad-lib on there, like I said, we've no Sound Blaster support, because we haven't installed any of the drivers for Sound Blaster yet. So I think that's what we're going to do now. I've got the discs that for the sound card. At least I hope they're for this sound card. I'm pretty sure these are the ones that I use with this sound card. So let's see what we can do. Right, now we've got setup and install. Let's try install. I think setup's for the Windows, because there are some Windows drivers on this. In fact, we'll try and get that working in Windows once we've got it working in DOS. Now I know I'm going to skip ahead when I'm doing stuff like this, but just for fun, let's go through it full time. It shouldn't take us too long. I will say that installing Windows took quite some time on this system. I'm quite happy to see that it actually runs reasonable, but it did take a considerable amount of time to get that to install, actually doing it like as you would have done back in the day from floppy disk. You see a bit of hard drive activity there. Right, I don't think we need to make any changes, no. And we're not running a CD-ROM drive. Right, I think it's going to want us to do another reboot. No. Let's try doing a restart. We've got a problem here. Because this should be moving along like that, and it's not. It's, oh, there we go. There we go. It was taking its sweet time. I wonder if that's taking longer now because it's got to count up more memory than it did before. I wish all computers actually give you an on-screen RAM count so you could actually see how far it's gone, but right, there we go. Looks like we've got sound card. I think that's actually working. What we'll do, we'll go into Windows and we'll see whether we can get this sound card to work in Windows as well, because I do believe I have got the Windows 3.1 sound drivers on here as well. And then we will see how much space we've got left on that hard drive to put some more games on there, something that can take full advantage of what we've got now. Right, so for some reason my mouse isn't working. Just bear with me a second, folks. I'm going to have to do a little bit of fiddling around. For some reason my mouse has stopped functioning. Just bear with me, I'll be back in a sec. Right, okay, we're back. Believe it or not, about a week has gone on since I started making this video. I've had fun, shall we say, with this. If you may have noticed, we're not actually using the same sound card. We have got it all up and running now, but I've had to resort to a slightly newer sound card. If you remember when I was working just a minute ago, which was over a week ago for me now here, I've got the computer all nicely working. We've got the 4 megabytes of RAM working. We'd upgrade to DOS 5. We've got Windows 3.1 working, all working beautifully. I then put the sound card drivers on, and in DOS, no problems. In Windows, the mouse had stopped working. I thought, oh, no problems, it'll just be a simple IRQ conflict or something like that, and yes it was. This mouse on the Amstrad wants to reside on IRQ 5. Now I believe there is some way of changing it. There's meant to be some jumpers you can change on the main board to change the IRQ that the mouse, cause it's basically like a bus mouse, it's just that that card's built onto the actual main board. I couldn't find them without completely taking the whole computer back apart again, which I really don't want to have to do, because I've got it all nicely together. I didn't damage any plastics when I was putting it all back together. I don't want to pull the whole board out just to try and find this set of jumpers, which I've looked everywhere with a torch, with a little mirror and everything, all around. I can find all the other jumpers which are referenced in the reference material that I've got, but I cannot find this bank of jumpers which are to do with changing the IRQ for the mouse. Whether it's perhaps like the 2386 that's got that and not the 2286, I'm not sure, or whether it's the XT version and not this version. I'm not sure, there's something not quite right there, but I certainly can't find it easily, which means that this is stuck on IRQ5. Unfortunately, the sound card I was planning to use, which is this Aztec one, which is period correct, it's from I think 94, I think I said this is from. I cannot get it to change the IRQ. Unfortunately, all these cards I've got, they're all slightly newer than like the original Sound Blasters, as in they don't have jumpers to set, you know, DMAs and IRQs and things like that. You do it through the software, so when you load the software up, it allows you to configure things like that and then actually save it to an EEPROM on the card. It's not exactly plug and play, but that's kind of how plug and play went a little bit later on. Or you can actually disable that on this card and just do it with a software configuration. I tried every way I possibly could to get that card to work, but I could not get it to work without a conflict which stopped the mouse working. And I could either get the mouse to work in DOS and not in Windows, or vice versa, and then I must have messed something up, but I couldn't get anything to work in anything. And Control Alt Delete stopped working as well, so I corrupted DOS in some way, shape or form. So at that point I thought, sod this. I deleted DOS, I deleted Windows, deleted the auto-exec config and everything like that off this drive. Reinstalled DOS 5, reinstalled Windows, and went for looking for a different sound card to try in it. Unfortunately, I've not got a lot of ISA cards, and I certainly don't have a lot of ISA sound cards. In fact, I think I've got 4, and one of them's that ad-lib card which I built, a modern one from a kit, and that I've got a computer which I've got that in, and I don't really want to have to start pulling it out. I'm happy to keep that in the computer it's in. So all I've got basically is that Aztec one there. We've got an Opti card there from about 96. That would actually have done the job. But what I've got in here, what I've actually got working, is it's actually a Crystal sound card from 1997. It's one of those god-awful cheap sound cards that you could get about very late 1990s. You know, they were under 20 quid sound cards, and the plug and play, everyone said they were, you know, like gosh awful cheap as you could get sound cards, and they're not really an MS-DOS sound card, as in yeah, they support DOS but through the Windows 98 drivers. They came with Windows 95 and 98 drivers with them when you know, from new. And you had to install that, and then it give you some basic DOS drivers to support it through DOS. Like I said, they weren't brilliant cards, but again, this is where I'm slightly going off what I was meant to be doing, which is having this completely period correct. So I've got a sound card in there from about 1997. I'm not actually using the original sound card driver. I found this brilliant driver on Vogons, and it's called Unisound, and it's a tiny little like 50k driver, and basically what it does is it'll work with any of the slightly later, like this and the Crystal card that I've got in there, plug and play. So, you know, 95 onwards, like 96, 97, 98 ISA plug and play sound cards. It just loads the driver for them and allows them to work in a basic MS-DOS system like this. So basically I set that up, and you can configure it. So it basically, you can configure your IRQs and stuff through the Unisound driver. So all I did was alter the autoinset.bat and change it from IRQ5 to IRQ7, and everything works. So I'll just give you a quick demo. If I type edit here, you look, my mouse works in edit. Escape from that. If I run Windows, which doesn't load too bad considering it's only 12 megahertz 286 this. But as you can see, I have full mouse support in Windows. That's what wasn't working before. I've not got anything installed in Windows yet. I might play with that later. I just wanted to get it on there for completion, kind of, because that's what I would have put on back in the day. But yeah, that all works. Even better if I let's go to games. What shall we try? I tell you what, and this is another great thing. If you saw before, I tried getting Commander Keen 6 to run, and because of the really poor memory management in DOS 4, it wouldn't actually load. There wasn't enough available memory to actually get it to run. I've not changed anything apart from upgrade to MS-DOS version 5, and now if we go and run it, as you can see, and if you notice there, it had detected the sound hardware. And there we go. Sound card's working fine. We'll get one more game up to try. So, what shall we try on here? What's got some good... we've got Lemmings. Let's run Lemmings. And that'll show us the mouse and everything working. There we go. That's F1. Let's make sure the mouse works. There we go. And we have our glorious ad-lib sound. I mean, the sound's good, but I still reckon that the graphics aren't as good on the PC version as they were on the Amiga version. And one of these days I will pull my Amiga out and perhaps my ST. In fact, I'm going to pull them all out at some point and do a side-by-side comparison. Because some people say no, they're exactly the same, and I don't agree. I think that the Amiga version is better than the PC version. But yeah, all that works nicely. Excellent. So let's get out of that and escape. Right, so that's all working nicely. Let's see how much space we've got left on that hard drive. We've got a whole 29 megabytes free on that hard drive, so I think we better fill that up with some games, because that's exactly what I would have done back in the day, once I got the actual computer up and running. I haven't actually put Word back on here. I do mean to need to do that. One of my word disks has become corrupt, so I'll sort that out at a later date. But for now on, let's use quite a few of that megabytes and fill this up with some software. So what I'll do is I'll get the bridge PC out. We'll pull the hard drive out of this, and we're just going to do a direct transfer of as much software as I want over onto here, because that's basically what I used to do back in the day. There were a couple of ways I used to do it, but I used to just basically have everything set up on the hard drive and just transfer what I wanted over onto whatever system I was working on in the time. So I'll get set up to do that and we'll come right back. Right, okay, we're back. You'll have to imagine that this is like a 486 PC running like Windows 3.1, or maybe like a Pentium 60 running Windows 95, because that's what they've been using back then. Now I'm using an old Celeron running Windows XP, but it's the same kind of idea. Basically, I've got the hard drive for the computer I'd be working on connected up to this computer. Incidentally, that is the sound card I'm running in the 286. Like I say, it's as cheap as you could get from the late 90s Crystal Audio plug and play sound card. It's not really what you'd expect to put in like a 286, 386, but as you heard, it actually works really, really well using that modern Unisound driver. So one of the reasons I'm doing this now is so we can get some more games, and we'll take more advantage of the fact this is actually Sound Blaster rather than just Ad-Lib. So with that in mind, now bear in mind back in the day I would have probably either had it all on the hard drive of the computer that I was working on, or I also had this massive SCSI array that I'd built that I used to be able to take between my house and my friend's house, who also had a SCSI card in his system. And that had a load of like 80 megabyte old Apple Macintosh SCSI hard drives in it, and I used to use that for transferring data between like I said, the computers that I was working on, my friend's house, my main PC and stuff like that. So imagine that this is basically the same thing. So we'll connect that up. Let's go in here, and we've got the hard drive for the 286 there. So that's this hard drive here. In fact, I've still got it called DOS4, so let's change that now. We can do that here. Let's rename that, and we will change it to DOS5, because it's now DOS5 on that. Just something easy that you can do seeing we're in here. It's a lot easier to do it than anything else. So we've changed that to DOS5 there. We can see we've got 27 megabytes free of a 40 megabyte hard drive on there, so we've got plenty of space to stick some stuff on. Now let's go to the USB stick, and we've got this file here called games. Now we have got basically all sorts to choose from here. We need to find stuff which is going to work on this old 286 system though. So what I really want to try over there is Wolf 3D. So we'll take that, we'll send that to, we should be able to send it to, no we can't, can we? What we'll do a good old copy and paste. So we'll copy that, we'll open the games directory, and then we can move them straight into the games directory, whatever we want. We'll paste that. There we go. Let's drop that down, and we should just be able to drag and drop what we want between the two. Come on, move that over there. So a lot of what's in here is going to be too new for this system, but we've got, what else have we got in here? We've got Elite. Elite should work quite well on this. We'll put Elite over. Like obviously Doom, Doom 2, those are no good. Degeneration, that should run on it. lawnmower. Is that Lawnmower Man? I think that should run on it. I'm trying to look for some of the racing games that have room. That'll definitely run on it. Well, that should be quite interesting to see how well that runs on it being a 286. That's more perhaps a 386 kind of game. Virtual Pool. Let's have that across. Miss Pac-Man for something a bit older. That'll definitely run. What else have we got on here that we could try? We've already got Maniac Mansion. That'll run on an XT, so that'll work on here. We've got Monkey Island. That's quite big. Let's try that. Let's put Monkey Island over. Revenge of Defender, I don't know what that is. Ultimate Challenge Golf, I don't know what that is either. Let's see if there's anything else on here. I don't know whether Worms... I think Worms is probably a little bit too new for this, but we could give it a try. No, Worms won't run it. It really needs like a 486 for that. We've got Zenon 2. I like Zenon 2, and that's got some really good, Chuck Yeager's Air Combat. I used to play that a lot. Right, let's see how much space we've got left on that hard drive now. We've got free space now. We've got 12.8 megabytes. Let's leave it at that. I think we've got enough stuff on there to be having a play with. I wonder if I've got... Yeah, we've got some of the older Duke Nukems. They can go on. They should work really well. Let's throw those over. Oh, let's throw those over as well. We'll call that good. Just listen to that hard drive go. Bear in mind, this hard drive is the original from, when is it? 1991. And there isn't a single bad sector on that drive. It still works absolutely perfectly, flawlessly actually. It's a real survivor, that drive. Right, I think we're there now. I think we've got everything we want copied over onto that drive, So the last thing I'm going to do before I shut this down, I'm actually going to take another image of that drive. So I've got it just for prosperity on this system. So we'll load WinImage up. I think that's what I used last time. Image. Create a physical drive image. Right, next, and we want... Where is he now? There it is. There's the disk there. Click next. Yeah, I think that's right. Save in raw format. Right, browse, where we're going to put it. We'll put it on the desktop. And we will call it 86. And we'll call it DOS 5, so we know which one it is. So it's Amstrad 2286 DOS 5. Save. Next. Finish. Save that. Right. This should only take a second. It basically means that if I do mess this hard drive up like I did before, instead of having to basically rebuild it all, I can just take this image and put it straight back onto the hard drive. I've done the same with the DOS 4 installation that I did. I've made an image of that. I even made an image of the original installation of DOS that this had on it when I first got it. Not that that's really worth anything, like I said, it was just something that had been used on the end of a network node like. But at least, like I said, now if I do want to revert back to one of the other versions that I created when I was messing about, it's not a case of having to load DOS 4 back on there and mess about and do all that. I can just take that image and put it straight back onto the hard drive and it'll work. It doesn't actually take that whole amount of time to do this when you're only talking about a 40 megabyte hard drive. Obviously, if you've if it's a couple of gigabyte hard drive and you're doing this, it does take some time. We're at 76-77% now. Nearly there. Right, excellent. So we've got that saved. Okay, let's close that down. Right, I'll get this shut down. I'll get that hard drive and the sound card mounted back in the Amstrad, and we'll take one final tour of the Amstrad now it's in its fully updated state, and we can play a few games on it. So back in a sec. Right, okay, we're all back together. Got the sound card in there, we've got the hard drive reinstalled, so we'll switch on. And I've not actually plugged it in. Just bear with me a second, folks. It helps if I actually plug the other end of the plug actually into something. Right, let's try again. We'll switch on. There we go. And obviously we'll have to wait for the usual Amstrad startup, which does take a little bit longer than you'd expect. Perhaps takes a little bit longer now, even so, because it'll be doing a memory count up while it's doing this. And it's now got a whole 4 megabytes of RAM to count up, which is quite a lot really for a 286. It's probably overkill, to be honest. 2 megabytes was probably more than enough, but I might take it back down. I might take it down to 2.5. I might leave it as 4. I don't know yet. We'll see. We'll see when I get into like messing with Windows and stuff, whether the 4 megabytes really does make much of a difference. For what I wanted, I definitely needed more than 1 megabyte anyway. There we go. This is the sound card driver I was talking about coming up here. And that's it, the computer's loaded up. So we go now CD games, dir. We've now got a big pile of games. We're going to have to do a little bit of messing about here because they were in Windows. Obviously we're going to have to shorten some of these to get them to work nicely within DOS, but that's not a problem. We can do that at a later date. What I really wanted to see running is Wolf 3D, because as I mentioned before, the Will It Run Crisis of the 1990s was Will It Run Doom, and a lot of people, like I said, they were getting either something like this, a 286, or they were getting like a 386 SX16. It wasn't going to run Doom. Even if it was 386, you know, it probably didn't have 4 megabytes of RAM, which was the minimum for Doom. But what you did have was this. You had Wolf 3D. So let's see just how well that's going to run on this computer with the sound card and everything. So we'll probably have to configure the set. Yeah, we'll have to. Oh, it's detected the sound blaster. Excellent. It's detected the mouse, so this should just work. My audio's on at the back there. I've got basically my sound bar, which is across the back of my workbench, is connected up to the sound card. So let's see what this sounds like. That cup. Let's see if we can. There we go. There's a bit of something there that shouldn't be quite there. You hear that like little bit of a click, but that's probably because of the sound card that we're using. Let's see how annoying it is when we actually get into the game. There's just like one off key there. That doesn't sound too bad. That actually doesn't play too bad considering this is a 286. Let the door come out. Yeah, that works quite nicely. I'm reasonably pleased with that. It's actually runs fairly smooth considering this is a 286 it's running on. That's not bad at all. It's just that like that stutter in the background there. It wasn't actually on the game at all. It sounded fine on the game. Right, let's get out of that. Right, let's see what else we can just run just quickly. Right, what else did we put on here? Oh, we've got the Dukes. Oh, we've got Vroom. Let's try Vroom. Right, so let's try. Bear in mind, a lot of this stuff I have not run in a long time. So I'm not 100% sure what is working. Start, that's what we want. Nope. Some of these will need a bit of playing with to see what works and what doesn't. Like I said, I've not messed with some of this software for a long time. Some stuff that I've had for years and years and years on old hard drives, and some of the stuff is stuff I've downloaded off the internet, and like I say, I'm still not 100% sure whether they work or they don't. Let's try Xenon 2. What do we need? It is Xenon 2. There we go. I don't want the music on, it's a bit I used to spend hours playing this. Alright, there we go. I'll finish off playing that now. Right, how do you get out of it now? Is it Alt and quit, Control and... Yeah. I think that's probably a good place to leave it, because that's locked the computer up. I can't remember how you get out of it. Shift Q E, escape. No. We'll just have to give it a. We'll give it one final start back up. In fact, what I can do is I can use Windows to go in and rename all them directories so they appear decently in DOS rather than mess about. Might just load Windows up to do that, and we can do that as a final thing. But yeah, so basically what we've done, we've took this as pretty much as far as I would have done back in the mid-90s if, like I said, one of my school friends had come to something like this. I'd have seen how far I could have put the RAM up for cheap. I'd have put a sound card in there if it could, if I could do, because that's what everyone wanted. Everyone wanted a sound card in the PC, just so games they were playing on it did actually sound reasonable. We've done that. We said we didn't go and put a bigger hard drive in it. As I said, even something like that, which is a 130 megabyte hard drive in 1994-95, that was 150 quid. That was beyond your average school kid, possibly for a Christmas present or something like that maybe, but they'd probably be more inclined to want some Mega Drive games or Super Nintendo games or something like that for Christmas. Most that got a PC because the dad had got it for them or something like that, weren't wanting to spend all the Christmas money or all the birthday money on it. They didn't mind spending a little bit to give them a sound card and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm going to spend some time now getting used to using Windows 3.1 again to do stuff. Like, where is it? Main. There we go. File manager, that's what I was looking for. You see, it's so long since I've used 3.1, I've actually forgotten where things are on it. But I'll basically spend a little bit of time now going to games. And all these ones that have got the extra long, like, degeneration there. It's just so much easier to do this in Windows. Can go file, rename, and then just degen, because we know what that is. That's degeneration. That should have changed there. Why didn't that change? Let's try that again. File, rename to. Alright. So the process is going to be. Yeah, because you've no copy or paste on this yet, have you? So, so let me see. You might as well do this in DOS actually. / DG, like that. Okay. Yes. There we go. At least it's done it, but that's a really long-winded way around doing it. I'll probably go into DOS and do it because that's a bit of a pain in the backside. But yeah, I'll go and rename all them, and I'm going to spend some happy time messing about with some of these games and reliving what I used to mess about with when I was a kid. Anyway, so I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed watching me mess about with this thing, and we didn't quite get to where I really wanted to do, so I did want to put a period correct, mid-90s, early to mid-90s sound card in this, and we've ended up with a late 90s sound card in it, and a driver from the 2000s, which someone's created to actually make that work. But apart from that, yeah, we've kind of achieved what I wanted to achieve. It's playing the game, kind of games that I want it to play. It can run the software that I want it to run. So yeah, I'm for the most part reasonably happy. But we aren't going to leave it there. We're going to do some modding upgrades next on it and actually take it to what I really want from this computer. But we'll do that in the next video that we do on this thing. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.